Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode of 130. We're a pop culture podcast that talks about pop culture things, and sometimes there is whiskey. My name is John, and I'm joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
Good, good. Happy Friday. Happy almost holiday weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
see what happens if we just go a little bit over a week, then I foobar the intro. That's what happens.
Yeah. I
Uh,
was gonna say you caught it though, like just at the right moment. You were like, pop culture?
yeah. Yeah, almost Christmas. This can I feel like I should be wearing a Santa hat or something more
God, I think I
festive.
have one floating around here. Or wait, no,
We
I
did at
don't.
one point. No, I
No,
know
I
we did at
do.
some
I'm just
point, but
joking so nobody makes me do
oh,
it. If
oh,
Chris is
okay.
like floating around and hears me, like, oh, look at
Also,
me being
one just
helpful. Just
enter stage left,
yeah.
a hat comes flying at you. Yeah,
Yes. I won't lie. Whenever I hear stage directions, I always think of, Shakespeare's exit stage right, pursued by bear, A Winter's
pursued by
Tale.
bear.
Yes.
So I would
It's
I
the
wanted
oddest
to
stage
ask,
direction, it's so great.
like when referencing enter or exit stage this direction or that, is it the
Yeah.
audience perspective or the actor perspective, right or left?
It's always the actor perspective.
Okay, that's what I assumed because
Yes.
they're the ones that would care. So, yeah.
Right. Because yeah, you'd have to be thinking, like, exit stage right, "Oh, that's actually my opposite stage left," because
Yeah,
the audience is
exactly.
stage right. So you'd just be like, having that extra
Yeah,
step is something nobody needs.
right. Yeah. Well, great. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Westworld. It's been a
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
Westworld season 4 comes on sad news of the cancellation of the show.
Right.
So there'll be a bittersweet element to our discussion of that. But we will
Yeah.
get into it and we'll get into it in a spoilerific fashion. So before that, we've got some news, particularly um, DC news. I know we talked about a lot of DC, but
Well,
you
now we're
know,
getting a lot of confirmation. I felt like last week was the,
yeah,
like,
s-
speculative, like, we're
yeah,
hearing rumblings, and now we've got, like, everybody's putting out statements.
yes, yes. A little bit of insanity from Tom Cruise, and
Yeah.
then before all that, we've got our weeks and drink holidays. It's Christmas is coming. It's got to be drink holidays involved, right?
Yes, of course there is. Some related or, would seemingly be related and some not so much. Um, but we've got, hearkening all the way back, 10 days ago, it was Hot Cocoa Day on December 13th, followed closely by National Screwdriver Day. So those are, I feel like, both kind of like morning brunchy type drinks. I don't know if you guys do like a Christmas Eve morning or a Christmas morning like special breakfast brunch. We usually do
Yeah,
in our household. Um I'm kind of excited for this year, like Everett will actually be old enough to be potentially remembering the start of like the traditions that we do. So
sure,
kind of
yeah,
like plan it out. Whereas last year was like a little more like free flowing, like we want to do these things. It's okay if it's not like on the day, but now we're like, no, get it, nail
right,
it down.
yeah,
So,
cool, yeah.
but yeah, those are a couple holidays, and then a little bit later on the 20th, we had National Sangria Day, and then on the 21st, it was Coquito Day.
Yeah, so, sangria, that sounds like you make a giant kind of punch bowl sort of thing for a party. That
Christmas
sounds like a
punchy,
good.
yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
mhm. Coquito doesn't really line up, I would say.
Not really,
Um,
although I mean, I don't know traditions from other,
right.
nationalities and other countries, so could totally be, and we're just not aware.
Yeah. When I was looking it up, because I mean, everybody if you've been following us, you know that we've gone through all the drink holidays already because we've been doing this
Yes.
for a couple years now. So I should know what each thing is, but I didn't remember what coquito was. So yeah, it's like a
Right.
type of coconut with like sweetened condensed milk, and it's like very kind of, I think of like tres leche in a glass, or like horchata or something, maybe even.
Yeah,
So
rum chata, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here Alan says sometimes referred to as Puerto Rican eggnog.
Well,
Sounds
there you
good.
go. Look at that.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah,
well,
nice little
I'm
perfect.
celebrating none of these things.
Oh, I
Y-
got you. I got you, John. I am celebrating Hot Cocoa Day.
nice. When you said, you texted, you're like, you're making your drink. I'm like, you're making your water. What's this, Andrea?
Yes, right. I'm
Uh,
going to the mountaintop, gathering it from the
Yeah.
fresh spring. Just give me a moment.
You're mixing in your Mio or whatever
Right,
sort of.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Nice.
scooping like a
Okay.
canteen through the icy snow outside, waiting for it to melt.
Yeah. Okay, random thought. It has to do with drinking, I guess. In a fashion. One of the scenes, so one of my favorite movies ever, often I say is my favorite movie, is Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
But
okay.
this movie is filled with flaws, lots of issues. So despite
Jurassic
these
Park is?
flaws, yes, despite these
Okay.
issues, I still love it. One of those issues is um Dr. Grant needing to
Yep.
refill his canteen while their Ford Explorers are stuck in front of the Terex uh, pen attic.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he sticks it out the window when it's raining and
Yes.
holds it there for what would have to be hours I
Right.
mean, think about it. The opening to this canteen is like an
It's so
inch
small. Yeah,
in
no.
diameter. And so you're sitting, it's like, where's the 2-foot funnel that you need to
Right.
refill your canteen from the rain, Dr.
Right.
Grant? So much
No,
for a science movie.
right. Well, and it would I mean, I was just thinking about that. It would have to be I mean, I know it was like a hard rain, but it'd have to be like
Right.
deluge to
Yeah.
even get anything.
And you need to like get maybe the rain is kind of funneling along the trim of the door or something, and you can
Right,
get it
right.
like to, I don't know.
Yeah. No, you can't just like stick your arm out and like, "Hey, look at all the drinking water I have now."
Yeah. I mean, if you're desperate and you need water, you mean just stick your
I mean,
face
don't
out
not
there.
well, and like don't not do it,
Yeah, yeah. I
but
mean,
like
it would make more sense to set your canteen outside. So then
right,
if the cars get started, then you grab it before you leave. So whatever
right,
happened to get in there over the course of 2 hours,
right.
So if it's raining a lot and you get 2 inches of rain in 2 hours, you've now,
At
you
least
got
you've
a little bit of
gotten
water.
something in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, that's that. Um, wait, hey, what kind of hot chocolate you got? Is it just like Swiss Miss, or you got like a fancy thing?
No, I got like a hot cocoa bomb that I bought at the local market, and it was a Mexican hot chocolate flavor, so it's got a little bit of spice to it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's always there was like discussion on that a couple years ago somewhere, you know, polls and such. What kind of hot chocolate do you prefer? Do you want fancier, bitter, dark chocolate, maybe some sort of Godiva-ish esque thing, or do you want just Swiss Miss and
Yeah,
mostly
it's
milk and
funny. Like
sugar?
I didn't think about it until you like started talking about it, but I feel like I actually have very specific hot chocolate opinions where I don't drink it very often. So when I do, I want something like a little bit nicer.
Okay,
Um,
sure, yeah,
but I used to love when I was a kid, we'd go cross country skiing every winter and there was like a outdoor kind of pavilion with this huge fireplace that we would always stop at along the trail and we'd bring along like, just hot dogs, roast them over the fire and packets of Swiss Miss and that was lunch. Like basically
yeah.
that was it. And it was like the best thing I'd ever eaten because we
You're
worked
so
for it.
exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we were like, we were warmed up by the fire after like slogging through the snow and cold, and you just get that like crackling crispy hot dog with like just, you know, cheap old Swiss Miss cups of cocoa and styrofoam cups, and god
Yeah.
dang, that was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
That's my thing.
I'm not a snob, like it's not like I won't drink like Swiss Miss or
Right.
whatever, but that's the time to me that it tastes good, not when I'm like settling in with like a good book and
Mm.
some cookies and hot
Yeah.
chocolate. Like no, I want something a little bit nicer.
Okay. Yeah. I can't argue with that, but I also agree with the nostalgia factor of Swiss Miss. So
Yeah. Yeah, for
good with that.
sure.
Mhm. Well, I did make a cocktail tonight.
All right,
Show it
lay
to
it
you
on me.
here for those that are our viewers here.
Ooh,
Um,
fancy, fancy.
it should have a orange peel in it for garnish,
Mhm.
but I don't have any oranges, and I have no means of obtaining an orange presently. So
Yeah.
I had to I added some orange bitters instead. I thought that had to be a little bit of a something. But I
Yeah,
made
good stuff.
this based on a recipe from this book here that I got from my parents-in-law.
Ooh,
This
fun.
was I actually got this last year, I think, for
Okay.
Christmas. So, um, but it's a really nice book. So for those not watching, it's called Gotham City Cocktails, official handcrafted food and drinks from the world of Batman.
Very
And
cool.
it has a really nice like introduction in it about kind of the history of cocktails in Gotham a little bit.
Okay.
I thought that's fun. I like a lot when things take this seriously, they pretend like it's a thing that would actually exist or
Right.
whatever.
We would
Versus the
actually
like,
sell this. Yeah.
yeah. So just the end of it I thought was interesting in the intro. There are a few things for the uninitiated to know about Gotham City's unique mixed drinks. Like other important ports on the eastern seaboard, the first cocktails were based on rum. After independence, the
Mm,
preferred spirit became rye whiskey. But it was
mm.
during Prohibition when things really started to get interesting, when Gotham City diverged from everywhere else. Bars, especially those in the Narrows, never closed. Business boomed as out of towners flocked to the city. Because of this legacy, Gotham City's cocktails are a little stronger, a little stranger, and a little darker.
I kind of like that.
Is that fun? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
I made a lot of these I don't have a lot of the ingredients for. I'm thinking of maybe just going through it and like, okay, I'll do this one, get the ingredients for it, make that one, go through the whole
Sure.
book. Um, but what I made is called First Foe.
Okay.
So if you could tell by the look of it, it's kind of a martini. And the description here says Stephen Crane, Alfred
Mm.
Stryker, and Paul Rogers were Batman's first criminal adversaries. An enterprising Gotham City bartender was quick to create a martini when news of the foe's encounter spread through the city. An homage to an event that would change Gotham City forever. Appreciate appreciative and nostalgic citizens frequently order the cocktail to this day. So it is 2 ounces of London dry gin, 3/4 ounce dry vermouth, quarter ounce Cointreau, a dash of Angostura. I never can say it. I read it and
Angostura.
never say it. Yeah, bitters, Angostura. Okay, bitters,
Yeah.
and an orange twist for garnish. So
Ooh, that sounds delicious. That sounds like right up my
first foe.
alley. Like
Yeah, it's not
gin martini
complicated.
with like an orange twist. I love orange.
Yeah, yeah, right. So that's this book. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm gonna try it
Okay.
first here live, see if it's any good.
Ooh, live reaction shot.
Oh, it's very good. It's really good.
Awesome.
And like, regardless of not having the orange peel, I could smell the orange immediately with that Cointreau, and the orange
And the
bitters did
bitters.
help. That smells pretty
Yeah.
strongly of orange. So you get that fragrance.
Right.
But yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Um, yeah. That's my cocktail. And I'll have to do more of these. And I thought this was also holiday appropriate because for me, Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. So I
Sure,
always have a little Batman in my life for Christmas.
sure.
So yeah.
I feel like, I mean, it's a little more stretchy, but Batman and Robin also feels like a Christmas movie, just because they
I
spend
know
so
it
much time with
does.
Mr. Freeze.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I generally tend not to watch it just because it's so painful, but
Hmm.
sometimes, like, you're just in the mood for a good bad movie, and
Hmm.
it just
It
is.
is a good bad movie. I have a
We all
bad
know it.
bad movie to talk about later.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, I s- I still am bummed that Batman Forever gets the bad shake that it does. I was
I
just
am too,
listening
I
to a
love
group of
that movie.
people. They were talking about best Batmans and stuff like that. And generally people often still are like Batman the animated series. That's the best. That is Batman. If you want like a
Yeah,
definitive what is Batman, that's Batman.
totally,
But as far as live
totally.
action iterations, everybody forgets Batman Forever. It was the transition movie. Everybody talks Batman and Robin because that was
'Cause
some
it's so
hot
bad.
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to talk about because it's
Yeah.
terrible.
And then I guess people at the time freaked out at Batman Returns because it was too dark.
Yeah,
Parents and stuff, they're like, "What is this?" It's like, "Well, this is Batman," and it's awesome.
right.
um, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it not being appreciated in its time, you know,
Mhm.
but I feel like we've all come around to Batman Returns and, like,
Oh, yeah.
recognized what a great movie it is. Yeah, I feel like the real, I mean, obviously, Pattinson might complicate things now, but, like, for so long, I feel like the real decision people had to make was Keaton or Bale.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if
I
you wanted
mean,
to talk about a great Batman, like, great Batman films, like, live action, like, that's what you
yeah,
talked about with Keaton or Bale, and you just
yeah.
sorta, like, skipped over Kilmer and Clooney.
Well, and you're skipping over Batfleck.
Oh, I am totally skipping over Batfleck just because I just can't with it.
See, what I've heard is a lot of people now are sort of like really like Keaton as Batman and really like Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne.
Oh, sure, sure, I get
So,
it.
because to me, that's we have to, if the conversation is who's best all around, both
Right.
in and out of the cowl, but I still think the best Batman is Michael Keaton, and the best Bruce Wayne is Val Kilmer.
Yes. I love his Bruce Wayne.
Mhm.
His I mean, he fits in the suit, it's not like a physical thing for me, where, like, when Ben Affleck is in the suit and I'm just like, "There's Ben Affleck's chin on screen."
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I didn't do that with Kilmer, but there was just something less believable about him in the suit, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
whereas,
the
like, I was
nipples.
totally, not even the nipples, although I do enjoy the, like, joke about it in the movie,
Mhm.
where, like, Batman Forever, obviously, they take it way too far in, Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he wasn't quite comfortable, his movements were a little stiff, when he
Okay.
made his turn, and I don't think it's his fault, it's just, like, they didn't have the best technology to, like, build what would be both a convincing, durable suit that would also be mobile. And I did appreciate that about Bale's films when they talked about designing a suit. It was always like, God, okay, so, like, I can deflect a knife, but I can't, like, raise my arms all the way. What are we gonna do about this? It was like that challenge of creating a suit. I do kind of love it when superhero movies take that on, like, directly.
Yeah,
Like, how
except
am I
the
gonna
suit never
build this
looked
suit?
good. That's the
It didn't
problem.
look good, but I appreciated
It
the
was
fact that, like,
functional.
it's like a real world, like, if I'm gonna be a
Yeah.
superhero, I wanna be, durable, potentially, blade proof, maybe even a little bit bullet deflective, bulletproof, but how do I move? And I just remember
Mhm.
thinking, like, during some of Batman Forever's action sequences, it was like Val Kilmer couldn't, like, turn to look at something, he would have to be like, "I'm turning."
Sure.
So
Right.
There
Yeah.
was
No,
always
for
just something,
sure.
like, not quite, fitting about Batman, and I don't think it's his fault per se.
Yeah, I think you have to shoot around that. I think you have to shoot knowing that that's sort of,
Your
your
limitations.
limitations. Yeah.
Yep.
Cause like, um, for me, it's not saying that Kilmer doesn't do a good job as Batman. It's just that love so much Michael Keaton as Batman. So it really
Sure.
is like the voice and then the structure of that suit, the classic look of that it
Sure.
isn't particularly realistic. It really is that perfect bat silhouette. I like
Yeah.
the little bit of fantasy element that's added to Batman, where it is you turn around and he's gone, and the next spot he's there. Like there's no realistic explanation for how he disappears or whatever. It is. There's a little bit of
Right.
the kind of stalker murder thing like in a slasher where the victim is running and then the slasher it can just walk slowly but always catches
Right.
up.
Right.
There's some of that with
Or, like,
Batman. Like
appears in
everybody
front of
else.
them, and you're like,
Yeah.
"No!"
Exactly. So there's a bit of physicality and movement and stuff that we don't
Yeah.
need to see from Batman to create that fear for the victim that he's, or for the
Right.
criminal that he's stalking. And so yeah, uh,
Yeah, I feel like, you said it perfectly earlier. This film gets caught as a transition film, and it gets an unfair rap in, I think, a lot of aspects of transitioning from, like, the Keaton world to, like, a Bale world of just, like, total reality, like, everything
yeah,
has to be believable. But, it's a great transition. It's still got,
yeah,
like, fun, colorful elements of, like, a more cartoonish, you know, feature, but at the same time, like, it's a live action movie, and there are no, like, plot holes where you're like, "Oh my god, like, this is
yeah,
just, totally out of the realm of, I can't even suspend my disbelief here."
yeah. The knocks I'll give against it are the Commissioner Gordon, they never cast Commissioner Gordon properly in those movies and Tim Burton ones and stuff. He
Right.
was not like I liked the portrayal, but that's not Commissioner Gordon that I would be familiar with. And then Joker and sorry, Riddler and
Yeah, it's like,
Two-Face
"Whoa, whoa,
are
whoa, whoa."
essentially like sort of Jokers. It's like they want to just have Joker be there. They're very removed from what those characters are. And like I get it in a more comedic take that they
Yeah.
have here. And I still love that, but it is not particularly very well locked to what their characters would be. That sort
Yeah,
of relationship between the two of them, even that buddy thing, like that's,
yeah. It's
yeah,
really fun to see, and, Tommy Lee Jones and, Jim Carrey have great chemistry to do it, but at the same time, you do look at it going like, "Yeah, that wouldn't really happen this way." It's
yeah,
fun that it does, and it's fun that we get to see it and see what that would look like, but yeah, it's not the most realistic,
mhm.
but
Alan says in our chat here, Pattinson,
yeah,
just question mark Pattinson.
he's I haven't really figured that out yet.
I need to
I
watch it
haven't
again.
I haven't figured out his place yet because I feel like I just went into that movie so nervous and it exceeded my
Mhm,
expectations that I need to watch it again to, like, get a real feeling for where I would place him in my ranking of
mhm.
Batman.
You
Higher
know
than I
how
expected for sure.
right. You know how we don't get a lot of interaction on Twitter, and then I post something about maybe Batman. Boy, that looks really long, and then we get a whole bunch of interaction on Twitter. It's like, why don't you just not see the movie then? Um, the Batman could have been shorter. Like
It
it
could have
didn't
been
need to be
shorter.
that long. Okay,
Yeah.
we transitioned oddly to a final kind of piece of the film that really felt odd.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So all you
Still a good
like
movie, but yeah, I
defenders
mean,
out there that yeah.
it's it's so funny. I I mean, I love the movies that I love and, you know, I can hear negative things and be like, "That's not gonna change my mind," but it doesn't mean that it's not grounded in some sort of reality
Right.
sometimes.
Yes.
Like,
Exactly.
I can't view the movies that I love with a critical eye.
Right. Yep. Mhm. Okay. Batman discussion aside, what
We
have you been up to
were
this week?
um,
As I ask as you put marshmallow in your mouth.
I know,
Sorry.
I was like, "Oh, he's gonna do it right when I do this." Um, so I've kind of been doing, like, another grab bag week of things. Um, Chris hosted a Home Alone movie night at his school, so I watched the OG Home Alone, which was really fun. I hadn't seen that in a while. I don't think we watched it last year, so it's always fun
Cool.
to watch that movie and the second movie and just, like, count the number of ways the wet bandits would be dead from these pranks.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know. Right. Which one
Like,
has a
my
higher counter too? 1 or 2?
oh god, I'd
Yeah.
have to watch 2 to see,
I just watched
but
2. So you watched 1
oh,
this week, I
alright,
watched
yeah,
2.
no, we'll have to
So,
compare. My favorite one, um, is definitely Marv the Skeleton. Like, when he's,
Marva
like, holding
Scott.
onto the sink and
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
getting, like,
yeah.
electrocuted and he's just like, "Ah,
Yeah.
ah," and then they just, like, flash to, like, some
Yeah.
dressed up skeleton. That's my, like, absolute favorite prank ever. That's
Mhm. And
just
then even afterwards, how he's like how he
no.
crawling and shaking on the ground and
Yeah.
stuff,
Oh
like, it's
gosh,
very
so
good.
good.
He's a
Yeah,
good
there's
physical actor.
they both are. Oh my god, they're
Mhm.
just rewatching it, you just get, like, such an appreciation for, like, the levels of commitment and the ways that they had to be uniquely injured and,
Yeah.
like, make it you know what I mean? And act injured in different ways. Like, you can't just be like,
Yep.
"Ow, it hurts." Like, yeah.
Yep. I
So
realized watching this again that that's why I like sometimes I'll do out of like a fake frustration or something. I'll go like, "What's up? What's up? What's up?" That's what
yeah.
he does in this when he gets
Yeah, she
injured and
does.
stuff.
Yep.
It's after the kid. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
influential as a kid.
those movies are so solid. They're so good.
Hmm.
Also, like, you just have to wonder, like, at the writers who came up with all of this stuff. Like, it's a lot. They
Yeah.
come up with a lot, and it all has
Of
to,
like
like, work
torture events.
together. Yeah. I mean, first of all, like, who are these sicko people? These sicko geniuses. But also, like, it all has to, like, be one long, like, elaborate maze that works together. So you
Yep.
can't just think of, like, "What if we do this, like, cool thing?" It all has to, like, flow into the next thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mousetrap.
Yeah, it's just that to me is just, like, an impressive mind who can put that together.
Well,
So
and these 2 movies are, there is something that we're missing a lot today. They're really they're competently shot. They're scored by John Williams, and
yep,
then they have just like clean, simple messages. They really do
right.
work for Christmas or for the holidays or whatever, for a family or for kids. They're just like easily distilled, simple things. Like in the second one, the message is, "Hey, you might think you hate your family, and they really get on your nerves, but in the end, you really gotta think about them and appreciate them because you probably do love them and you would miss them if they were gone." Like that's
Well,
about all it is. With a little bit of like, hey, there's a homeless person here and like maybe they're, don't treat them poorly and there's more to them
right,
than you think. Like it's just
right.
simple.
Well, and, like, that's really I mean, when it boils down to it, the plot of the first one too. Just,
Sure.
like, your unexpected, friend/savior slash savior is in the second one, the woman, the excuse me, the homeless woman in the park. The
Yep.
first one is, like, the scary neighbor who everybody tells tales
Right.
about, and really, his story is just, like, so simple and also sad, and it's just like, "Be nice. You don't know
Yeah.
people's story."
Yep. Mhm. It's okay, Andrea. You can cough it out. Yeah. It's that time of year. Mhm. But yeah, these 2 movies are classics. Third one, I've never watched. I think there's even a fourth. I've also never watched that. I'm not interested. These first 2, I was sad to see that the second one actually had a bad, like, Rotten Tomatoes score and stuff. It's like 60 some percent or whatever. I'm just like, there's nothing to complain about with these movies. They're wholesome and fun. So I don't know. But I'm glad together we both watched the right amount of,
The
Home Alone
important,
movies. Yeah.
yes, the relevant
Mhm.
ones.
Yep.
Yeah, I caught one piece of Home Alone 2 on TV the other day. My God. And it's the best part. It's Maureen O'Hara slapping Tim Curry across the face, which is just like
Yeah.
the
And then
absolute
he's
oh, oh,
I
oh,
didn't
oh. Yeah. His
Yes, that was
his
good.
facial expression, thank you. His
Mhm,
facial expressions just cannot be matched.
mhm. He's an interesting guy, and, like, between him and Rob Schneider, it's a good, like, ensemble, fill cast to fill out the movie,
Yes.
and, yeah, I definitely didn't appreciate those things as a kid, just whatever, and,
No.
yeah, I looked it up too. The movie, that they made, like, shot these scenes from that old movie that he plays, he recorded and everything, with the
Yeah.
guy, like, "But my Tommy gun don't." Um, that wasn't a real movie and stuff like that. We were just curious if that was a real thing, and so they made it for this, but
Have you seen the new, like, Home Alone commercial with Macaulay Culkin where it's like if Home Alone happened in 2022?
oh, a couple years ago, right, yeah, with, like, the smart home
It
stuff, right?
Yeah, it's just back on the air with, like, a vengeance. I've seen it, like, at
Okay,
least
okay.
25 times now, but
Wow, it's the right time, yeah. I have seen the one with his mother, and, like, Kevin Hart. I don't know what
yes,
it is, some
that was
sorta,
fun. That was fun. Maureen O'Hara, yeah.
so, yep. Oh, good, we got some Christmas movies in.
Yes, yes, I also watched the holiday episode of The Great British Baking Show, which was a rollicking good time. They made, like, pies out of Christmas leftovers. They they did, traditional, like, chocolate Yule logs, and then they did, you had to make a Christmas tree out of, like, either biscuits, as they say, cookies,
Mm, mhm.
um, or, some other kind of, like, fun, like, non-cake substance. So 2 of the people chose, like, meringue, which, dang, I mean, if you're going for that, good on you. Like, that would not be my choice for, like, baking if I was not a baker, but
But you had to make
it
wait,
looked fun.
you had to make cake or
Christmas
cookies?
tree Christmas
Oh,
trees out
oh,
of
okay.
non-cake substance. So 2
Mm,
bakers chose cookies,
and
and
did
2
they so
bakers
they
chose
built it like
meringue.
a three-dimensional tree,
Yes.
not like a
Yep.
flat? Okay, alright.
Yep.
Hmm.
So,
Well, I'm guessing they made it an Italian meringue for that? I guess
they
that's,
did.
holds firmer.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they were kind because the holiday episode they do excuse me. So the first iteration of holiday episodes they did was like bringing back all-star cast members, but now recently they get like guest stars who are on like television shows and they come in and it's just like amateur baking hour and they just
Hmm,
like have fun with it or whatever. Like last year I think they got the cast of Dairy Girls on Netflix if
okay.
you've seen that or know about it at all.
Mhm.
And then this year was like another British show called It's a Sin, which I'd never heard of, but apparently is like blowing up right now. It's super hot. So
Oh, okay. Hmm.
gonna see I might check that out. But yeah, it was
Still
cute.
hot
It
right
was
now.
fun. Hot right now. Yeah, so I watched that. Of course I watched Westworld. And I also just wanted to mention because it was like such a fun game. I watched the final match. I had been watching, bits and pieces here and there of games, but I watched the final match of the World Cup, and it was just like one of the most exciting games. Like just, Argentina was winning, and then like
Wrong
France came
team
back,
won.
and then
Mm,
there was like penalty shootouts, and you know, it was just like all the things that could be like dramatically happening were happening. So
Mhm.
just made it like, I don't know. Like I forgot how much fun it is to watch soccer, football.
It can be. It can be. Yeah, right. Yes. I just was bummed. I kind of like I don't think I watched many. I only think I watched part of one game throughout the course of the whole thing. But I was kind of keeping tabs here and there on like which
Yeah, sure.
country I wanted to win or whatever. And at the end, I'm like, well, come on, France, let's go. So I was rooting for France because I have, you know, uh, in-laws that are French and most
Yeah.
culturally aligned with France. So it's like that's what I was rooting for. But but
Yeah,
can't complain about second place, I guess.
yeah, I was happy for Messi because I feel like he's chased it for so long,
Oh, okay.
you know?
Mm,
So I was happy he got it because I didn't think he had another World Cup in him.
okay.
But I was
Sure.
bummed because, like, you know, France fought so hard and they had such a great comeback, and you could just see like the devastation on their faces as like the penalty kicks were progressing and it was just like looking less and less likely, and it was just like, oh God, you know.
Did I hear though that France was a defending champ? It's like
Yeah,
they win okay. So I mean, I understand, that way it's like, oh, you won before. So
right. I mean, you know, like it's not like you've never been and this was like your shot,
yeah,
you
right.
know. So
So cool.
so yeah. And then I read a couple webtoons. I picked the guy upstairs back up, which is a thriller horror, um about, of course, the guy upstairs and whether or not he is a serial killer. And
Mhm.
it's a really good webtoon. I really like it so far. And then I picked up Marry My Husband, which is a time travel reincarnation type of webtoon where this woman gets transported 10 years prior in her life and has like a chance to fix a lot of things that went wrong and get revenge on the people who wronged her. It's very fun. I like it so far.
I feel like Ashley's read that one. I think she's read that one. And then the guy upstairs, I did start. It's been a while, so I haven't. I'm sure I'm very far behind on or whatever, but I was enjoying that. I thought that was well drawn, and I got to the part where like she thinks she saw the guy,
Yeah.
you know, killing someone. Like minor spoilers early on or whatever, and
Yeah.
then it wakes up and all this stuff is going. So I got to that little bit or whatever. So that's only like I don't know what it is,
That's
5
where
in or something.
that's where I was too, actually. And now you know, a bunch more that are, I mean, not a ton, but enough to like kind of, you know, do a little mini binge and move the story forward again. I was like, yeah, this is really good.
Yep. Nice. Okay, we'll have to keep going on that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I read any other webtoons this week. Um, or comics either. Other than my one manga, I guess. Kowloon Volume 2.
Mm,
I did
right.
finish that. I've been looking forward to it a bunch. I might do a full review on a morning show or something, but it's the short of it is it's still good, but um it's not as well paced as the first one. I really like the setup, the world building, the kind of like where are we at story of the first one, and some interesting mystery elements that were introduced. But in the second one, I feel like we kind of just asked more questions and we introduced some weird things that were good, but by the time we got
Mm,
through the whole volume, we really hadn't learned anything. We hadn't
sure.
learned, about previous questions, and we just got more new questions. So yeah.
Oh,
Um,
yep.
so I still like it. I'm gonna keep going. But I wish that by the end of this I had, they'd answered a couple things.
Sure. That's fair.
Um see, still watching Chainsaw Man, still very good. This week's episodes felt really short. We're kind of yeah, I mean still great. And then I've been my other Christmas movie was Die Hard. I hadn't seen that in years, so I finally watched that again. And then I watched a few different Bond movies. So I often think of James Bond movies as a Christmas thing as well, just because there was a time period where often they'd have James Bond marathons on like satellite television or whatever during certain holidays, particularly Christmas. So I watched For Your Eyes Only and The World Is Not Enough and Diamonds Are Forever. And then I watched some behind the scenes features for The Living Daylights. So
Okay.
quite a bit of Bond stuff. For Your Eyes Only is the first Bond movie I've ever seen. My parents bought it on
Really?
VHS or whatever. Yep, back in the day. So that was the
Interesting. So
first one I watched.
you saw Roger Moore first.
Yeah. Hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I feel lucky that I did because it introduced me to that kind of Bond, and then I obviously
Mhm.
grew up really with Pierce Brosnan.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that For Your Eyes Only is the best Roger Moore Bond
Sure.
um, film. And I was actually making a list this morning, like what would be my top 5 Bond movies? Because I really don't know. There's so many to go through. But anyways, I think this is the best Roger Moore one. I watched World's Not Enough, which I think has only gotten better with time. Like
Mhm.
I feel at the moment when it came out, it was a bit so upon reception, but I really actually like a lot of the movie.
Mm.
I feel like it doesn't stick the ending. The main villain could have been more somehow. But ultimately, I think that it's a pretty darn good movie. The story makes sense. It doesn't hold your hand. They have a good slew of Bond girls in there.
Right.
Um, it's not too crazy over the top as we get in the next one. It's that transition one again before it
Yeah.
goes to all out insanity. So
Right. Right. No, I really like that one. I think the plot line is actually more prescient now. You know what I mean? Like it's more
mhm.
relatable now that we're like kind of in the midst of like this questioning of reliance on like fossil fuels and like, pipelines and things
With
like
oil
that are
stuff.
so
Mm.
yeah, it's just such like a at the time it seems like so far fetched and now it just sort of feels like that's not out of the realm of possibility, you know?
I I think the Bond movies have always done pretty good at doing something that feels like it fits for today. Like I was watching this, there's a good YouTube channel. It's called like the Bond Experience. And he's always asked, like, should Bond be a woman? Should Bond be modernized in different ways? And his thing is like Bond movies have always been modern because Bond movies always sort of deal with the now. But Bond himself should be the thing that stays constant.
Mhm.
It's the supporting cast, it's the situation around him, it's the technology, it's all the different stuff that can change. But Bond needs to be Bond, or you lose the core of what is even the purpose of having these films be called Bond anymore.
Which
So
is
I
I
like
mean,
that breakdown.
yeah, it's just kind of funny though, obviously, to in the sense of like Bond does change. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
he
Like
does.
like
Yeah,
I mean, it's like different actors with slightly different takes on Bond.
interpretations. Yes.
I totally get the crux of what, that statement is, and I agree. It's just like also at the same time a little bit ironic.
Yeah, and I like that each actor brings themselves a little bit or some different take, a little to it. It does have to fit the tone of the story you're telling, in a
Right.
sense, and all that stuff, and the type of villain you're going to have, and you do have to. Otherwise, it's going to feel really disjointed. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, and Ashley actually bought me the other year a tie that Pierce Brosnan wears in The World's Not Enough. So it's a
That's
good,
cool.
yeah, it's a good one. Speaking of
Diamonds
just
Are
just
Forever is the one I haven't seen.
really?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, speaking of
I forgot.
disjointed, Diamonds Are Forever is not good. I think it's definitely in the running for my worst Bond film ever,
Sure.
award. It's it's sad because this is the one that Connery came back for.
I was just gonna say that. I thought that was that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Ouch.
not completely irredeemable. It has a good theme song, I think, and it has a few good Bond girls and some nice fashion or whatever. But otherwise, it's really weirdly paced. The intro is not good. Um,
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like a Bond movie in a number of ways. Like it just doesn't feel sleek. It why things they feel like they're trying really hard to make it a Bond film. Like there's these two women in there. I forget their names now. I've even actually just watched it. They have kind of silly names or whatever. But they do these really like sort of over the top, I'm gonna, beat you up Bond things. And it's just silly. It's like they were prepping themselves for the Roger Moore days, but it wasn't. And it was kind of the thing, like they were fitting almost what
Sure.
would be what more appropriate in a Roger Moore film with Sean Connery. And
Sure.
it was not good. It did not. I'd like to hear someone defend this movie, because I love almost every Bond movie for something, but this is one
Sure.
I would be okay not watching again, actually.
Well,
So
now I'm, like, so curious I have to watch it.
you have to watch it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
do, but, yeah, I always forget about it, I think, because it's the one Connery came back for, and I just was sort of, like, nervous about it.
Mhm, mhm.
Speaking of something funny, though, I did learn, about The World Is Not Enough. The credits don't or the opening sequence doesn't appear until 15 minutes into the movie, which is the longest
Oh, okay.
that they hold off for, like, that intro.
It is a long opening, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't really think about it until it was just, like, trivia about World Is Not Enough, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, it does
Mhm.
take a while." Because I was thinking
Yeah,
about it, it's
Alan
very Christmassy between, like, obviously, Doctor Christmas Jones,
yeah.
and, like, the opening, avalanche ski battle.
Yeah, well, that's a little later, but yeah, right. A lot of Bond movies have the skiing and stuff or whatever, but the
Yes.
on top of it having the yeah, Christmas Jones adds
I
a
mean,
lot to Christmas movie element.
yep.
And she's not great, but also good. Like I
Yes.
do enjoy her there. It's just there's some lines that shouldn't have
Not
been
good.
given to her or should have had a couple more takes or something,
Had a coach.
yeah, something, I don't know. They could have just, oh, let's skip that line. Let's not do that one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's the last one where we have uh Hagrid, what Robbie
Ah,
Coltrane, right? So
Valentine. Yeah.
yeah, and it's sad because now he's not around anymore.
Yeah, I was just
Alan
thinking
says
that.
we're missing the Aston Martins. That's true. That was one of the worst elements of the Pierce Brosnan movies was the
Yes.
BMWs. I was not a fan of any of those,
Yep.
but
Yep.
yeah, until we get to the next one. But then things got crazy. So, anyways,
The invisible car. It's just, oh
yes.
god.
Well, see, this is the last one we get to see Q as well. World's Not Enough is also the
Has been
last one with
ruined.
Q because then
Yeah.
he gets replaced with at the time, R, or I think they call
Right.
him Q in the next one or whatever,
John Cleese.
With yeah, which
Yeah.
great choice, honestly, to continue Q, but that didn't last long,
No. No. And then we
So
got, yeah, younger reboot Q.
yep. hmm hmm So yeah. Well, that's been my week. We got a few news stories going from one spy thing to another spy thing. Tom
Mhm.
Cruise, the other year posted this thing. Hey, thanks for your support on stuff. Here we're,
Yeah.
and he was filming that from the outside of a plane, and then like the planes just took off or whatever with him on it. It was a cool stunt. Well, he
Mhm.
did put out 2 new videos now. One is another thing kind of like that. He's in a plane talking about thanks and the, upcoming Mission Impossible movies and all that stuff. And then he jumps out of the plane, but then the camera follows him this time while he's like, you know, falling for quite a ways. And that's fun. But then we have
Yeah.
another video really going over like this new big stunt they've been preparing for years for,
Yep.
something I guess that he's always wanted to do. And so this video is a good watch if you haven't seen it. They talk about it's basically driving a motorcycle off a cliff and letting the bike go and then opening a parachute. That's the
Yep.
stunt. And the way that, this video talks about it and all that, it's
It's
a lot of fun.
awesome. Yeah.
Mhm.
Going back to the first one, I loved the fact that he was like filming for Mission Impossible and he was both in and out of a plane because I feel like but he was talking and thanking the audience for making Top Gun Maverick such a success. And I loved it because I felt like it was such an encapsulation of his two biggest franchises. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like being in and out of a plane. Like Top Gun is all about like
Mm.
what can you do inside a plane? And then obviously Mission Impossible. I just feel like so many of the stunts are like outside of planes. Like the biggest ones have been like jumping out of planes or holding onto a plane or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like it's interesting to consider even now like Top Gun as a franchise because for the longest time obviously it was a movie. So now we have one
Right.
more.
Solo.
I hope that's it, whatever. We just we had this fun treat, many years down the line kind of paying
Right.
tributes to the first one and like, moving on the story a little bit. But
Right. Yeah, I mean, I say franchise just because I feel like its popularity is such that of a franchise, it's
yeah,
so recognizable, it's so well known, it's so well done, like, it just feels somehow like there's a
it's a
whole
big
world
impact.
in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so
Do you have a favorite Mission Impossible movie and have you seen them all?
I've not seen them all. No.
Okay.
What was the last one?
I don't know if it was Rogue Nation was one. I
I
always
haven't
forget the
seen one of
names of
the
them.
last 2.
There's Fallout, Rogue Nation. Um,
Oh
what
god,
else?
what
So
are
it's Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible 4, which is I think Fallout. And then wait, maybe I'm wrong. Let's
is that
see.
Ghost
Alan's got
Protocol?
the picture. Oh
Is
yeah,
it Ghost
Ghost
Protocol?
Protocol,
Is
then
that
Rogue
4 or 5?
Nation, then Fallout.
So it's Rogue Nation or Fallout is one of the ones I haven't seen.
Okay. Fallout is so good. That's the last one. I
Is that the
honestly
one with
think
Cavill?
yeah,
Okay, I've seen that. I think maybe Rogue Nation is the one I haven't seen then.
that's the weakest one, I think, in my opinion, actually.
Okay, sure.
You win. Yeah. Yeah, I think
Great.
that's the weakest one.
Stamp. Yeah, no, that's the one I haven't seen.
Okay,
I
nice.
don't remember why, but yeah, I just
Right.
haven't seen that one. I haven't got around to it.
So yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So parts 7 and 8 are gonna be coming out. It sounds like they're filming both back to back as we speak. And,
Right.
yeah, cool to get these, stunt updates.
Yeah,
So,
Dead Reckoning Part 1 and
yeah.
Part 2.
Yep.
I kinda hope it's not called that.
Oh, really? Part 1 and part
Yeah,
2 of Dead Reckoning?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't ever enjoy that.
Hmm.
Like,
You
naming
know, but
something
it
part 1 and part 2. I just
but if
don't.
something is such a continuation of the story that you'd wanna call it part 1 and 2, you need to make it clear to the audience what is the first one and then the next one.
I
Because
agree,
other Mission
but,
Impossibles,
like
mostly you could watch however, if you really wanted, you
yeah,
know?
I get that. I just don't like the part 1 and part 2. I don't know why, I've
Mhm.
never just been, like, a fan of that,
Yeah,
but even just calling it, like, Dead Reckoning 1 and Dead Reckoning 2, like, I
sure.
don't know why that's a problem,
Mhm.
but
Sure. Yep. Well, you should check out those videos if you haven't seen them. Um moving, we were talking Batman earlier.
Mhm.
We might as well talk more kind of Batman adjacent things. Again, make my
Mhm.
cocktail fit even better. So last week, um, said it here or whatever. It was speculation time because we know that James Gunn is running things over at the DC and Warner Brothers for their movie plans. A lot more stuff has come out about this now,
Yeah,
and as opposed to us just guessing, we have a little more confirmation of how things are shaping up over there a little bit.
in a
Is it
freaking
how you
deluge.
expected?
Um, Disappointingly, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I know I talked last week about, like, I feel like this is the wrong move for DC to try to do this, like, universal shifting reboot realignment because do people care? People are tired. People don't want to abandon things that you have made them care about in favor of something new. Um, so like yeah, this is like everything I said I wasn't excited about happening. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, we know now that like Wonder Woman 3 is not moving forward and it's not like just a solo issue between Gunn and Jenkins. It's like part of a broader scheme of, you know, any Superman related content is not going to be moving forward with Cavill because they're penning like a younger years Superman. Black Adam's not moving forward. Um or at least like movies focused on that character are not moving forward. I think there's one other that got the axe as well. Oh yeah,
Um,
we're still in the lurch on Momoa. They haven't really said if I don't think anyway if Aquaman Lost Kingdom is going to be like his penultimate turn as
I mean, the
Aquaman.
writing is on the wall,
The
right?
writing's
I
on the
mean, it's
wall. I mean, I feel
yeah,
like it's happening.
yeah.
Um but yeah, so this is just like a clean sweep of many DC characters who don't have films like immediately coming out. Like, like
Yeah,
Shazam is not going away because Shazam is basically about to be released. So can't really like
right.
axe that right now, especially when they need content to still put out while they're putting their plan together. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm disappointed because I'm disappointed for the actors that I really enjoy in these roles. I was just kind of hoping that some reshaping of this universe would involve them getting better shakes at better movies. Um, and that doesn't mean I don't understand that, Gunn is like, I need to create my own thing. I just want to like clear the slate and start over. It doesn't mean I don't get that, but at the same time, I can still be disappointed about it.
Yeah.
I'm especially sad for Cavill and The Rock. I think Cavill is just such like a rug pull after he announced and he was so excited and he's like I'm back and then it's like whoops just kidding like it's just kind of a shitty thing to do to him, not again not James Gunn's fault because he wasn't there at that point, but I feel bad, especially because I was like, oh, he's getting out of like a bad situation with The Witcher and he seems so excited to be back being
Yeah.
Superman, and now that just feels like also, you know, like I said, he got the rug pulled out from under him. And I feel bad for The Rock because he's so passionate. He's waited so long to get a Black Adam movie. And I really was excited about the potential of where our next one could go.
Hmm.
And I'm bummed that that doesn't seem to be in the works.
Sure.
So,
Do you think audiences would have trouble with basically a soft reboot or for all intents and purposes a reboot, but picking and choosing the pieces that they wanted to be holdovers? Like, would audiences have problems with that? Or is it more clear for an audience like, nope, this is new and you're gonna know it's new
sure.
because it's clearly all new?
Sure. I mean, I think obviously it's easier for audiences to just like wipe a slate and then be like, start here. Like
Mhm.
timeline wise, it's easy to be like, this was the old, this is the new. Um, I think that it's a tougher job that Gunn has to do to make audiences care because there are going to be, I think, leftover holdover feelings about, characters that could have been, and there's going to be a lot of what could have beens, and there'll be some, I think, like I'm expressing, obviously here, some disappointment, some sadness, some like resistance to a new universe. So in that sense, I think it's more difficult for audiences to get into new things because there's a why did I care about this before if it was all going to be ripped away from me.
Right.
Um but yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean I don't respect the fact that like he has a vision, he came in and he wants a plan. I understand, especially in terms of Superman, him, with him having ideas for already penning a script about a younger years Superman. Obviously, that would fit better with the things they are choosing to keep, like Pattinson's Batman. Everybody there in that universe is younger. So if they're ever going to do some sort of like crossover, bridging companion, like we're in each other's worlds kind of film, um, it makes sense for them both to be younger. I get it.
Yeah,
I I
I
get I get
see,
the idea there.
and I don't think they're gonna do it though. I mean, I think there was some, discussion of that before, because the weird thing is,
Well, he has a
to
he
my
has a
under
10-year plan, so I don't really know
right,
that they're not gonna do it.
right. So apparently part of the deal for James Gunn taking over is they can't touch the Joker sequel, the Batman sequel, or
Right.
the J.J. Abrams produced Black Superman project. Those three things they can't touch, supposedly.
Ye
And so that
yes.
kind of messes with the idea of clean slate, one universe, when you already have these things like, no, we can't have this. So would you bend
But
and incorporate those, or because they're going to be
but
very different?
they're not gonna be part of the universe, though, except for maybe Batman, because Joker already feels, like, outside of all of this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Because not only tonally does it feel different, but because we did get introduced potentially, obviously not, like, 1000% sure, but I'm pretty sure, to Joker in the Batman, in Pattinson's Batman.
Right.
So
Oh yeah.
already we're having to, like, diverge from the fact that, like, these 2 movies would be connected in any way,
Right.
shape, or form. He can't touch, um, the Black Superman movie, but if he's already penning, like, his own Superman movie, again, is this just gonna be, like, some project outside? Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, yes, cool random movie over here that explores a character, but also it's not like the full universe that I'm intending to build. And I mean, I don't think he was ever going to touch Batman anyway, because DC, that's the biggest success that DC's had in a bit now,
Right.
and they're going to hang on to that. So I
Yeah.
think it makes sense for him to like go in already being of the mindset like whatever I create, whatever I do could factor into that. And that's fine if
Hmm.
like I don't have that creative control, but I
Hmm.
could build around
I just feel like that it could be your excuse as to like,
it.
well, we're gonna pick and choose what we want to keep,
Yeah.
and we don't have to wipe the slate everywhere because we automatically can't in parts.
And I wish they
I
hadn't.
Yeah, I want to give credit to whoever said it because I didn't think of it. I forget who it was. It might have been our KL post, but they were saying like in sports, you if you have a Michael Jordan, you build your team around Michael Jordan. So if you
Right.
have someone like a Henry Cavill or even The Rock that people like in the role, really envision in the role, are very passionate about the role. Like, whatever you were thinking about for a story, like, make it work for your Michael Jordan.
Right.
Or,
Right.
like, that's what you got to build around, because
Right.
if you don't have those linchpins, if you don't have the like important thing, what good is the rest of it?
Right.
Because I would have to imagine casting someone like a Black Adam, like a Superman, it's very difficult to find someone that can be universally agreed upon. This person seems right for the role.
Right.
So, like, I have no big, fan connection to the world that Snyder made in the
Mhm.
DC universe. But, you know, it's also, you have a couple people here that, in large majority, people are very excited and
Mhm.
alike in the roles. I think Wonder Woman too has proven herself, is that most people are a
Yeah,
fan of
I
Gal
completely
Gadot
agree.
being Wonder Woman. And so there's some of these things that just, like, it seems like maybe you just make that work. Maybe you make that work.
And that would have been my argument, and that's what I would have hoped for, but yeah, I can't be upset. I mean, I can be disappointed, but I'm not like, "How dare you not do this?" Because I get
Right.
that, that's his creative choice. Doesn't mean I
Yeah.
have to like it. Doesn't mean I have to, like, see his first slate of movies coming out and go, "Boy, I'm excited," or "I really can't wait to support that." I don't know, withholding judgment. But yeah, in my ideal scenario, you would have kept this star power that you built and just written better movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of worried that James Gunn is writing Superman. Like, I have no evidence that he can write a Superman kind of movie.
No.
Um, he's zany,
He's
he writes
yes,
zany.
he's like offbeat and
Yeah.
zany, and he's done some great things. Like, I struggled a little bit with the beginning of the Peacemaker series and then ended up just like loving it.
Hmm.
Like, I loved it. It was great. But that's the kind of character his writing feels suited for. I don't know that
Hmm.
it feels suited for like a Superman,
Hmm.
like a
And yeah,
straight-laced superhero,
yeah,
like a very straight
right.
and narrow, like, I mean, obviously he's got his own things, but he's not silly. Like, no one has ever
No.
called Superman silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
I also don't like, his record of, he has a good record of taking kind of lesser known characters and making his own thing of it. But he doesn't have a great record of, like, authentically translating any sort of comic book character to the big screen and caring about source material. So, like, his words of caring about source material and stuff are one thing, but he's not
Right,
shown that to this point. He's shown
right,
that he's passionate about what he does. Like, we know
right.
that. And he's
He's
talented
committed.
with what he does. But, some of the other stuff was, as far as, yeah, authenticity and, him managing a clean, straight and narrow Superman. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Um,
I get
yeah.
I guess
It
my other oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's hard because, like, I really wanna balance the fact with, like, James Gunn, you included it here. He put out a statement about, like, people being disappointed, and he's like, "Hey, it's not fun to be harassed," and, like, no, I don't want anybody to go harass James Gunn over this or, like, hurl epithets at him or, be insulting and just, like, kind of that, like, degrading level of anger. But at the same time, like, you can't expect people to just not be disappointed about this.
Mm.
Like,
And
or
and
or
at the
feel
same
that,
time,
or feel that you're not the right choice for all of this.
yeah,
Like,
right.
you're just starting
Yeah,
out, like, people should give him a chance-ish to prove himself, but if we're going on your track record, you can't, like, be, just completely baffled as to why people have doubts about what you're gonna do.
right. Yeah. And people also need to stop acting like if people say mean things to them online, they're actually being hurt or something. Like, just
Right.
go log off. Just
Right.
log off and write your script that you're working on. You know, like you have things you're doing, right? You know, making Guardians yet or whatever.
Right.
Um, don't worry about what just relax. And yeah, know
Right.
that you're not going to make everybody happy, especially, you know, like you say, looking at his track record, who knows? We don't know what's going on. You're taking away
Right.
things that people like, you're going to have some upset people. It's going to happen.
Right. Right. You have to understand that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody just needs to be like a little bit understanding that this isn't anybody's ideal scenario. In an ideal
Right.
scenario, either he would have come in and said like I'm keeping these things and making them better, excited to work, blah blah blah, or none of these things would have happened and James Gunn would have been hired at the outset to create some sort of like 10-year master plan 10
Yeah.
years ago,
Right.
cuz I
Yep.
mean, obviously one of our biggest complaints of the DC universe has been like the mismanagement, the like, you know, unorganized, chaotic approach of like mishmashing characters and worlds and timelines and like how does this fit again? And DC just going like, "Oh, just believe it does," and it does. Um, so yeah, so if they wanted to do this like Marvel-esque copycat 10-year whatever, should have just hired this guy a long time ago or some other guy, whoever guy you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just
I
can't be
think I think
expected.
anything is going to be
Sorry, go
tough
ahead.
with going with a 10-year plan because you plan
Yeah.
that all out and then you have a movie or two that doesn't resonate with an audience. What do you do with the
What
rest
do
of
you
your
do?
plan?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, DC always just seems to be in the middle of something, you
yeah.
know? Like they're
Yeah.
just always like
Mhm.
stuck in the middle and they can't like finish the execution.
Mhm.
They start off and they're like all these cool things and then you get to the middle and they're like, I don't know, this doesn't seem to be working. Like go over
Mhm.
here, look over there. So, this feels
Well,
almost like even though it's like a 10-year like master plan, it almost feels like another in the middle like redirect. Like look over
yeah.
here at this universe and we'll see.
How bad are Shazam and the Flash and Aquaman gonna bomb? Like,
Ooh.
they're I mean, they're gonna just who is gonna watch? The only people who are gonna watch this
Well,
are people that have
let's
no idea that any of this is happening,
let's
which is a lot of
let's
people.
let's be serious about the Flash. The Flash was gonna bomb. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? With or without this, the Flash was gonna bomb.
They were gonna try to draw you in with cameos from Wonder Woman and Superman and, like, Michael Keaton
Totally,
stuff, and
totally.
now they're getting rid of a bunch of that
Yep,
supposedly, so
yep. So yeah, that was just gonna be a failure regardless. So really, Shazam and Aquaman. Um, I will still go see Shazam because I really enjoyed it. Fence line about Aquaman
okay,
because I like Jason Momoa, but like, am I just gonna like go be disappointed? Kind of like
sure.
watching like these last couple episodes of Westworld where just it was almost just like disappointing. Like I wanted it and I wanted to watch them, but I was also just like, is this just like fruitless?
Yeah. Isn't that silly how we are though with that too? It's like, this thing itself doesn't matter if there's not the next thing, you know?
Well, because when you know there's the next thing, or at
Yeah.
least there's the possibility of, if they, I mean, I've never gone into a season finale feeling like this is fruitless.
Mhm.
Or a series finale, like that I know is the series planned series finale. I've never
Right.
gone into one feeling like it's fruitless. Disappointed, either because it's ending too soon or far too late, sure, but I've
Mhm.
never gone in and been like, what's the point of this? Because I can't watch
Yeah.
the thing that was supposed to be.
Yep. Yep. Well, a new thing that's gonna be is Henry Cavill's next project allegedly
Ugh,
that
man.
he is co-producing or executive producing. It's a Warhammer 40K project. He
Yep.
loves Warhammer 40K.
Yep.
Big fan of this. So he is working on this. Allegedly, it's going to Amazon Prime probably. And so, hey, he leaves The Witcher. They're not making things that feel like The Witcher anymore. So he leaves. He's going to Superman. They say this is not the space for you anymore because we're going with a new vision. So it's like, all right, I
I
guess I'm gonna help fund my own thing. So
Right. I did hear that he has been reached out to by Witcher folks as a like, well, no more Superman. We could maybe work it out. I don't know. I don't know how legit, especially considering he has this like project that he's passionate about now. I don't know how legit that is, and I don't know how much he would need to be promised to come
right.
back. I'm not saying I would hate it because I hate the idea of Liam Hemsworth taking over, but
He,
I
to
don't know
my
that this is like
understanding,
I don't know if this is just like a pipe dream by both fans and,
right.
the directors and producers alike. So,
Yeah.
we'll
There's a
see.
lot of that because there was like a petition up, sign the petition to replace the showrunners and return Henry
Mm,
Cavill. And that
yeah,
was
I mean,
being
I've seen that.
signed against some of that.
This this sounded like a more legitimate, like, he's just been, like, approached by people. Our people will
Hmm.
approach you, and they've sent some, like, feelers out his way
Hmm.
just to, like,
The
see.
interesting thing, his agent was until very recently, as I understand it, The Rock's agent, who is The Rock's
Yes.
ex-wife. And,
Yes, Danny
she
Garcia,
is
yeah.
now fired. Yes, she is no longer his agent after all this
Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
So I don't know who his new agent is, but yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, woof. Just
Mhm.
not a great, little stretch of time here.
Yeah. I am good with him not returning to The Witcher. I'm done. I'm out. I'll play there's upgraded current gen patch for The Witcher 3. If I want my Witcher fix, I can play that. That's fun. Um the early reviews for this other Witcher prequel show are disastrous.
Oh, right, yeah,
Witcher
yeah.
Blood Origin, I
Yeah.
think, or
Yep,
whatever.
yep, yep.
So
Forgot
no
about that.
interest. Yeah. Witcher's over as far as I'm concerned. We'll see what they come up with the next trilogy of Witcher games. So I'm gonna stick into the game world. So
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I, uh I will probably watch season 3.
okay.
I don't feel like I could totally stay away. I
Okay.
mean, Cavill's still involved, so I just gotta
Yeah.
know what it's like.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I'll finish the season, but I feel like I'll start it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you let us know.
I will.
Speaking of things that are finished, Westworld, you can't
Yes!
even watch it now anymore on HBO
No,
Max.
it's gone. It
I,
left,
I was like,
just a few days ago, December 18th, it left.
okay, do we have any greater indicator as to why this is?
I had no way, shape, or form know why this is. I've read a bunch of articles, and they're just saying, like, it'll be on some of our other series channel or other, like, parent company channels. It's gonna be on some, like, some free random streaming services. It
Really?
is it is on Amazon Prime. There's 2 options, one that's free but isn't available, which I think is interesting. And then the other is you have to buy per episode or obviously per season,
Okay.
which is what I
Isn't this
did.
fascinating in this article from GameSpot? The
Yes.
actors for Westworld are being paid for
Paid for
season
season
5
5.
even though they're not making it.
What the he just make effing season
Well, I mean
5.
that's marketing is like the overall budget, it's huge. Marketing is
I
huge, and
I
then,
know, I know
I'm
it's
sure
just
they're
a
not
small
paying other
piece.
production elements, but yes,
No,
it's
location, like,
yeah.
crew,
Mhm.
director, whatever, like,
Right.
wardrobe. I totally get that this is a small part of, like, full production cost, but I was just like, can you just do the thing? Can you just do it? You're already paying them.
Ugh,
The way that this ended, of course, was like the and I won't spoiler yet, but the way that this season ended was like, "This is what I wanted."
okay. Okay. All right, well, we'll get into that.
And now I'm mad that it's not happening.
Hmm.
I'm even more mad it's not happening, I should say.
Um, but the showrunners, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, are now making a Fallout TV
Yeah.
series, so based on the
Yep.
video game. Another thing that probably don't want, but
I did,
it's happening.
I did enjoy them saying, like, "We're gonna make it in the Fallout universe, but not, like, tell an exact
Right,
already
tell the
told
game,
story."
remake the game
Yeah,
somewhere. Yeah, like
exactly.
yeah, right.
Which good.
Um,
I think we've talked a lot about that being the right move for a lot of people who wanna get into that, like, I wanna tell a game in a video or I wanna tell a story in a video game universe space.
yep.
Like, that's the way to go.
I think honestly, I would rather it be a movie probably than a series. But if they did a Fallout movie or series, if they just focus on, in Fallout, basically, everybody, when you come out of a nuclear bomb shelter, essentially, and there's these
Right.
different vaults or whatever. So you could pick any number vault and have a group of people that you follow that's like just emerging from the vault, and you could have all kinds of things going on. If they don't focus too much on the world as so much as like, let's get a good character drama in this world, and the world just kind of is where you inhabit, I think it could be
Mhm.
good. Sometimes this stuff gets out of hand when it's trying to like go big picture on some of the things, as opposed to just letting you be entrenched
Right.
in where you are a little bit, and they forget to tell good character stories. And I mean,
Right.
you can have a murder mystery sort of drama thing in any situation. Write a good one in this one.
Right.
So, okay. Well, anyways, Westworld. We'll get into it in a
Yeah.
spoiler-ific fashion, as I mentioned earlier. So, be warned if you're interested in Westworld and have not seen it all the way through. We're going to be talking about Westworld. We've talked pretty in depth about past Westworld, other seasons, what we've thought about them in general, and all that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
to me, the focus, like really the interesting story here, is how did this series manage to wrap up? How did series 4 go for, or season 4 go for us? And you know, I
Yeah.
guess we can start with, did everything make sense to you? Because it's been a while since we watched this. We watched this last
Gosh,
two
yeah.
episodes. How did you end up like picking it up? Were things making sense? All that sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like on the whole, yes, things made sense, except for a little bit of the final episode. What is now the final episode. I mean, obviously they didn't
Okay.
intend it to be. Um, but yes, a little bit of the final episode in which Dolores is kind of memorializing the destruction of this world that Hale Loris created. And she's talking about, this world's dead, there's no sentient life, but there's one last opportunity, one last game for us to play. Maybe we can save ourselves. And I was sort of like, not quite following you, sister. Because it seems to discount the outliers here,
Mm,
unless I'm missing something. So I wasn't quite following like her, like, by this world, like nothing, no sentient life. And I was like, but outliers, are we not ever
yeah.
going to address them ever again? They were going to be a thing. And, we had
Well,
Clementine who was going to go find and live among them. Or is there a way that she was going to like weave that back in the next season? Now I'm just sort
n-
of like feeling a little stuck.
I think, I mean, the implication, and I think it's a little bit of a, I don't know. I didn't know that I bought this, because what we went with in the whole season was the brain control, the mind control stuff. which I thought was cool and well done. But then the final thing we get is before the destruction of the tower or whatever is, hey, thanks to William, kill everybody. Everybody kill each other. So then
Yes.
everybody's going mad and like is like just programmed to kill each other. And so I
Yeah.
think that was the idea that everybody's just going to murder everyone. And right, this doesn't seem to affect the outliers,
Right.
but other people were going to allegedly find them, right? Get a hold of them, kill them. So they must be counting on that, like humanity just finishing itself off,
Right.
which is a leap, I think.
Yeah, it was just a little too loose and not tied up for me. So
Sure.
I felt like that thread just kind of like dropped a bit away. Because a lot of the rest of it made sense. Like you said, like this whole season has been about mind control, like who's game master of whatever particular world we're in. The final episodes got very, what is the body? Like, do we need a body? How attached are we to our bodies? Like, they don't do anything for us. Teddy got very, he followed a very like Descartes philosophy. I think, therefore I am. It's all about the mind and what you can do, and that makes you who you are. So I think those like overarching themes carried through very well. It just like these last bits felt a little like rushed and dropped, and like we were getting a means to an end, and I love, and now that we have spoilers up I can say it. I love that we were like getting back to our origins and we were going back to Westworld at the end. I was
Mm.
just hoping that's where we were ending up, and then we did. And then they ripped it away from me.
So, do we have any indication if this is how this season was intended to end, or if they altered things? Because it did feel like we jumped to some conclusions or we rushed a bit. Like, was that the way it was always meant to end in season four, or did they have
Right.
a heads up that I feel like this came down the pipe pretty late. Like, hey, it's done,
Yeah.
it's canceled. I feel like this is what it was meant to be to this
I
point, but maybe,
I feel like it mostly too, although I mean these last couple of episodes did feel a little like fire sale. Everybody's got to go and everybody's got to die.
yeah,
Um there was just like so much important character death that I was just like, boy, this isn't even like Game of Thrones where important characters die and you're like, I can't believe they actually killed the main character, but it's so impactful.
yeah,
Here it was just like wanton death and destruction.
yeah,
Um so it felt a little odd to have been, the choice all along.
like they're clearing the
Um
slate.
yeah. Yeah, and it just didn't feel natural for everybody.
Yeah,
Um I kind of liked maybe that we were gonna, I mean, the only one who really did feel, not the only one. One of the main ones who did feel natural actually was, our guy on screen here, Man in Black, William. His storyline actually felt very like thought out to have him
yeah,
killed.
yep,
His storyline felt intentional and purposeful. Hale Loris also felt like a solid wrap up. um Maeve, Caleb, Bernard, even Stubbs did not.
poor
I'm sorry. I'm like
Stubbs,
I'm like
poor
throwing
Stubbs.
out all the names here, but we got
Yeah,
spoilers up, so
mhm,
um is what it is, yo. Yeah, just yeah, people felt robbed of their endings here. And I don't know, I was thinking about particularly the fact that Dolores, like OG Dolores is now, connected to this world and the Sublime. And the people who are in there, there's obviously people who could be brought back in a different way. Like Maeve
yeah,
says, I'm not really here, am I? I'm in the Sublime. So, we could
right,
get some
yeah,
of those
yeah,
characters back in interesting ways, but yeah, it just felt very you know, like you said, we're just wiping the slate clean and everybody's gotta go.
yeah. Well, yeah. I think the show
That
also
was the lesser part that I just didn't enjoy about these last 2 episodes. I
right.
was just like, "It's a lot happening right now."
Mhm. Yeah, I would like the answer. Hopefully, we'll know it at some point if they changed something or this is what they meant to do. And obviously, that can you can reshape what you think of something depending on how it goes forward. We saw
Right,
that with Raised by Wolves at the end of season one. We're like, what is happening here? And then season two explains it makes sense and it goes forward from there. So without the next thing, I guess we won't know if this
right.
really feels right. Because right now, yeah, it doesn't. It does feel rushed. Does feel like wiping the slate clean. It does feel like they tried to tackle again the larger picture too
Yep.
much because they didn't manage it. There was, okay, so what we basically see is this one city. Okay, now the rest of the world is going to be devoid of life. Like,
Mhm.
that was a question we had earlier. Does this one tower affect the entire world? They seem to talk about
Right,
this city, so what is it like on the rest of the planet? Are there multiple towers? Kale wouldn't be running all that. This seems so like, where are we scope wise? Or are they suggesting that we've gotten to some point in the future where everyone else was already wiped out
right,
and
and this
this is
city
what
was
was
it.
left or something,
Yep.
It's like we're
Which
completely bending what reality. I don't know.
Right, which seems at odds with what we understand of the outside human world in the 1st season of Westworld.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, this would suggest some sort of, like, global apocalyptic event which,
Yeah.
left humans with only one city to dwell in, whereas, like, the season 1 of Westworld suggests that humans are so like overpopulated and bored and wealthy in their original world they had to start creating these like theme parks to escape to, which
Hmm.
suggests to me expansion of the human race rather than diminish. So like, did we miss some sort of like apocalyptic trigger somewhere, or
Yeah.
like you said, is this really like confined to Haloris's world? Is it confined to one city of a still populated human race, or a still populated human planet on Earth, and she only controls a piece of it, but somehow we're expected to believe that like this is the only piece that matters and like bye
Right.
everybody.
So I mean, I guess that's the question. Do we miss some sort of time thing? Because obviously it's revealed that like the world we're seeing, we've been kind of seeing through Dolores's eyes, whatever her new name is, because she's not
Christina, yeah.
even there, Christina, and it's
Right,
just facades to what used to be New York. And so when that goes away, we see, the decay and destruction there. So is that
right,
like just recent, or did we skip some sort of massive time thing, and this is
right.
what's left, I don't know. Maybe
I
that's
mean,
maybe that's the big reveal of the would be the big reveal of the next season. Like, yeah, this really
right.
was, you know.
Which would make sense because of what we know about Caleb here shown on screen, his daughter Frankie, and her like cohort of outliers. Like if they're living in the real world, and it does seem to be they're in like some sort of desert with like ruins and remains of certain things, and like it just feels very barren and empty. Was there sort of some sort of like apocalyptic event that we just like missed happening? I mean, I know we obviously the prior season had the destruction of Rehoboam and that whole
Yeah.
like scheme and plan for the human world absolutely falling apart, but we didn't really get to see the like all world effects of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we didn't travel
Right.
to different locations around the world and be like, "Oh, oh, okay, like everybody's getting hit by this." It again was like this one city is potentially meant to be representative of the entire world, but we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Maeve was buried in the sand. Like we did have
Right.
that time passage, but that's basically like
Bernard was like
Frankie
dusty
growing
and
up,
whatever. Yeah.
child to adult or something like that.
Yep.
But we did kind of get introduced to this where, you know, So yeah, this would have had to be a destruction in the time from Frankie being a child to Frankie being an adult.
Right.
Not that long a time, but possible where, and then the time that, Halorus has gets all his setup, this whole control mechanism and all that. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to play with, or like maybe
Right.
making this make more sense.
Right.
So, hmm. Um, let's see what else. I felt like obviously the difficult thing with a show like this is you pose lots of interesting philosophical questions. You have
Yep.
to choose where you want to seemingly answer them and where you want to like not, and like what characters want to represent what and whatever. I felt from these 2 episodes in particular, like trying to answer a few things, and that answer seemed to be pretty cynical of the human race in general. Like, yeah, it was every, Bernard saw it. Every iteration, it's done. Every version, it's over. Um,
Man in
and
Black, we're here for destruction.
yeah,
That's all we do. Yeah.
so that seemed to be the kind of conclusion we were given, um, or the show was seeming to state. Do you kind of agree with that, or?
Yeah, I would. It was very like mankind's whatever it does and whatever we do, since we are reflections of our creators, is destroy. Like it's hopeless.
Mhm.
It's just I don't know. We
Yeah.
can't evolve, we can't like break the cycle, and yet we keep trying to, like, in different ways. Halores had her own way of creating of trying to break the cycle, and like, the Man in Black slash William, his answer was just like, well, we're all doomed, so we might as well wipe the slate clean. But he never really got to the part of like, well, what happens after you wipe the slate clean? Is it just
Mhm.
nothing? Or does somebody else come in and have like a vision? Or is it, you know what I mean? Like there just wasn't like
Yeah.
a next step beyond like everything will be destroyed by
Mhm.
our own hands.
How do you feel about that? Like we kind of know what the show thinks about it, or is suggesting anyways, but
Right. I mean, I certainly think that humanity has repeating cycles. You know what I mean? Like there we aren't I disagree in the sense of like we aren't just destroyers, because in order to destroy there has to be something to be created first. Do you know what I mean? So there are
sure.
cycles of building and creation and invention before there's cycles of destruction. So
Well, it can be
I don't
destroying things that we didn't create.
I mean, I guess, but like, and that's very existential of us, because that would be like very, it would be very meta to be like, well, the world, the natural earth created things and humanity destroys them, which I don't necessarily disagree with, um, in certain instances, but I just think it's too simplistic of a view to just say humanity is destruction and that's it.
Yeah.
Like like I said, there are cycles and there are certain people who have inclination towards that, and I just don't think you can put that on everybody you meet. I
Yeah.
don't think you can put that on humanity as a whole.
It's um like a lot of times when I listen to people, they're sort of talking about the idea of like, the way that we, you know, are successful is if we believe in a sort of a higher power, and that sort of aligns our goals and it creates our north star in a way. And if you don't have that, then you start aligning in weird ways. Your north star, it gets all messed up, and are be more prone to nihilism or some sort of destruction. But at the same time, if you think of that kind of thing, where that is making us sort of special. And like, though I agree we are special, we're also still animals. You know, are frogs, all frogs do, all they do is destroy. If the world was
Right.
left to the vices of frogs, would everything be destroyed? Like, or how about the deer or the whales? Like somehow often we get set on the outside of an ecosystem. Like and I understand it. Like we have more control and more awareness than these other things, but we are still those things. We are still the frog and the gorilla and the horse, even though like we have awareness. So like how much does that separate us
Yeah.
that would then allow us to be something that is like essentially not designed to exist coherently with the world in which we exist? Because in my mind, something that exists is there's nothing inherently evil nor good about it existing. It just does. And humans are that too. And so we're not like
Sure.
all out destroyers and we're not all benevolent or whatever. We just are. And being we're a conscious, we should do the best at being, at the best that we can at existing.
Sure. I mean, I think there's, I was just thinking about uh comparing us to like we're the frogs or we're the whales or we're the deer, whatever we are. I mean, in thinking about that, I was thinking about like what disrupts an ecosystem and, like what kind of animals like survive, cohabitate, balance well in an ecosystem. And there are invasive species. So, I mean, I guess this show could be kind of an argument for are humans an invasive species? You know what I mean? Like
But
that do come in and destroy the habitat, the environment, the ecosystem. I'm
but
not
that's
saying we are, I'm
all
just like
right.
positing.
Right. And I like that, but that's all based on perspective. The invasive species doesn't feel invasive. It's just trying to survive. It's just living, it's
Right,
just doing what it does.
but that
That
doesn't mean
now
it
that
doesn't
might
destroy.
right.
And
Right,
by the
but it's
same token,
also
like
yes, but at the same token creates, it pushes other things out for itself and for more of itself. And it's unaware that it's doing it, but it does, and it does naturally. And so we
right,
can be aware when we do it because we can be aware.
right,
But it doesn't make it unnatural to do it. It doesn't make it unnatural that that occurs because it does occur. And then we try to
right,
do maybe the more unnatural thing and adjust that. Our society is filled with like kind of puppeteering ecosystems everywhere,
sure,
stocking fish here, counting the deer population there, like this invasive species here. Don't let that spread. Don't spread it, don't like whatever. It's always kind of puppeteering these different things that sort of, if we're so unnatural, we're messing with the natural order of things. But I don't view us as
maybe
unnatural. We're
sure, but
just
maybe
part of it.
part of the point of our awareness is to like be like we do some things that are unnatural. We're the invasive species that's been like I don't know. I mean, if you just think about this as like one grand experiment, like what if we're the invasive species who's been given awareness and it's just like, let's see what they do. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like they're invasive and they're potentially destroying this like larger worldwide ecosystem, but they have the awareness to say like we're doing things that are destructive. Can we stop ourselves?
Well, I mean, and that's
I mean,
definitely like
it's like a cool real world experiment. I mean, not cool in the sense of like I want our planet to die, and if we can't like rein it in, not necessarily saying like our actions are sole contributors, but if they are, like, you know, the end of the experiment is destruction. But just positing again, like
I
it's
still
an
well,
interesting
two
question to think about.
yeah, two parts to that. One, it
Sure,
hinges on the idea that we have a creator. So, because the argument all comes from like you have to come at it from different ways for sure. Whether you're coming at from a perspective
sure,
of we have a
sure.
creator and potentially a purpose, like a divined purpose, or if we um or if it's just happenstance, if it's just life and life is what it is. um and then the other part is the destruction again, though nothing is really ever destroyed, is changed, so like the destruction again is from like a so you might destroy a thing, but all its pieces still exist, it's just in a different form. you know if you burn something, you don't get rid of it, you just deconstruct it, you just change it, you've rearranged the atoms, it all still exists. No matter leaves the earth unless we blast it out of our atmosphere. It all still is there.
Sure.
So destruction of the earth is subjective in a sense, that like it's like, well, if my forest here is destroyed, is gone, then I see that forest no longer there. It's been destroyed. But the earth, that didn't hurt the earth. The earth doesn't
But
have
what if it did?
feelings.
Well, no, it doesn't have feelings, but like, what if now it's been destroyed to a point where nothing else can grow there or be built there because the like Earth itself is no longer like able to it's no longer fertile, and then B, it's like unstable enough that you can't build there either. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So like
Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah, right. I just always kind of come from the, again, it's sort of the weird non-religious perspective that like Mars doesn't care if it can't grow things right now. Like it's
no.
Mars exists as it is and it's not destroyed. It is Mars and it's how we know Mars to have been. Now, you know, 14 billion years ago, maybe it was different. It had an
Yeah.
ecosystem, it had something else or whatever. And Mars doesn't care, and we don't think about Mars as like it's destroyed. In fact, some people want to go to live on Mars, but it's just like again, I'm just kind of saying destruction at to a point is perspective, unless you're talking about the technical deconstruction of something.
Sure.
But then you are destroying what that thing was, but what it was made of still exists.
Hmm.
Just yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I mean, the question of destruction should just necessarily be posed of like the earth doesn't care if it's destroyed. Well, no, it doesn't. But should we care
Right.
if the earth is destroyed? I mean, apparently for our own survival we should.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, so it's still subjective for sure.
Yep. I don't know. It's the things are weird. Again, they're odd to talk about when you're not. I'm not sure which way I always want to discuss it. Whether it's from like a religious sort of theological sort of perspective, or what becomes very like I don't know, cold in a way of sort of
Yeah.
an atheistic perspective. So
Well, and I feel
um,
like sometimes this show in particular doesn't really know either what angle it wants to take. I think there's a little bit of grab bag of everything. I mean,
mhm,
I mentioned earlier like Teddy comes up with a very I think therefore I am philosophy, which is, Rene Descartes. Um and then like but the whole last episode of this season kind of focuses on like who's the creator of the world that we're living in. Hale Loris is like, I created this world, and then William's like, it's my world now. Now I'm the creator, and now,
yeah,
we have Christina coming in and being like, I'm gonna organize and be the creator of one last game, and it's like, well, we
yeah,
could approach it in the sense of like, applying it to our own us, the viewer reality of like who's the architect of our game. Is there
yeah,
some sort of like creator floating out there somewhere, and who might that be? So yeah, so I think Westworld does usually a nice mix of kind of different philosophical, religious, moral questions. And in that regard, these episodes aren't any different in terms of like kind of reaching out for different aspects and pulling them in and kind of seeing what you think.
But that's why I was kinda surprised that it ended up feeling a little cynical. Like I said, it
Yeah.
kind of felt
Yeah.
like it decided a little bit when I feel like
Yeah.
it often hasn't. So,
Well, and that's where it would have been nice to have a next season because we end with Christina Dolores being like, "There's one last game, survival or destroy." I don't think she says survival. I think she says something. It's not like savior, but it's along those lines. Do you know what I mean? It's not just survival. It's a little bit
yeah,
more than that. I can't think of the word right now. Or destruction, and she's just like, "Let's see what we can do to save ourselves," and it's like, well, what was that gonna be then?
right.
Was it gonna be
Yeah,
less cynical?
yeah.
Westworld's never been, like, floating along on, like, bubbles of hope or whatever,
No.
but like you said, it hasn't been this, like, conclusively, "What's the point? It's meaningless because we're destroyers, and we should all just, like, apocalypse now this bad boy,"
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
in William's vision, which I
Yeah,
have to
the
say it came on a little strong. That was definitely a plot point for me that I was like, "This is a lot right now."
wait,
Where,
Williams'
like
vision?
yeah, the host Man in Black, where suddenly he has one conversation with human
Oh.
William, and he's like, "Renegade! Blow it all up! Tear it all down!" And I was like, "Okay." Like,
Mhm.
you just need to maybe take a beat, dude, because you were like Halloris's little puppet, and I get that you were, like, starting to fracture and see your own things, but suddenly you're just, like, full on, like, "I am human William, and I'm gonna do what he did, and, like, let's just burn it to the ground." It was a lot for me to have that switch go.
That's true. I do think though that sometimes people that are grasping for meaning, purpose, direction, importance, whatever, when they find an inkling of it, they go all in. It's kind of like a born again thing or something. Like you're a low point or whatever, you're not sure what to think. As soon as you find that bit of hope or that something that makes stuff make sense,
Yeah,
you kind of decide you have to go all in or not.
I guess. I just was sort of, like, more interested in his potential kind of feeling out of the outsiders and, like, how or the outliers and how intrigued he was by them and, like, what was happening and, like, all the cracks and fractures in the world. I just thought that was a more interesting place to go than, like,
Sure. Yeah.
"Man in Black is right, I'm gonna kill him and do what he wants and live out his
Yeah.
legacy." I don't know, it's just a little, like, bleh.
Yeah. I still worry that if we had gotten the next season, that we wouldn't have the conclusion we want anyways, because it's part of the problem with dealing with things that are so big like this is how do you wrap this up logically, you know?
Going back small, Westworld, we were there.
Right, but they
Microcosm within
open
the
the door,
microcosm.
and that makes sense for a season, but then you still have to answer the larger questions because they brought
Right,
it to
but
the bigger
but
space.
maybe they could in the microcosm. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
I think taking it back in a manageable scope would have helped them focus on the questions,
Mhm.
and now we're never
Yeah,
gonna get.
maybe. Maybe. I worry that they have a direction and not an end. Like, they wouldn't know it's kinda like the maze, right? The design of the maze. That was like a really cool setup. When William first found that under the
Yeah,
guy's scalp, I'm like, whoa, what is going on? And we see this pattern again. And what is this? And it really was like a map to consciousness, a map to awareness, sort of in a way.
right.
But like, was that really satisfying exactly? I don't know. I feel like it's going to be
It
I just
was,
think
I
they
thought.
gave themselves almost an impossible task. It's like the Matrix. Everybody rags on the follow-up Matrix movies, but I want someone to tell me how they would have ended it instead,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, this way, it's very, like, Schrodinger's cat. The cat, as long as you don't look inside the box, the cat is alive or dead, depending
Yeah.
on your belief. And as long as we don't have a season 5, we can believe
Yeah.
or not believe that they would have wrapped it up in a satisfying
Yeah.
fashion because we'll never
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But
Hmm. I mean,
I
they
yeah,
deserve the cancellation because season 3 was so bad. And then no one
bring
came
it
back for season
back.
4. But 4, yeah, 4 was, you know, we can talk about that. Like overall, season 4, like other than kind of the end here, which maybe would have been corrected in some fashion by how season 5 started.
Right,
I really enjoyed my time in season 4 here. I thought the
right.
music was great. I thought that they did go smaller scale on some things. We focused on some characters a little better. We like made some characters that we really gave weird paths to in season 3. We kind of course corrected for them. Bernard felt more like Bernard again finally.
Yep.
Um they
Caleb
really
was
sort of,
interesting.
yeah, was a
Thank
huge
you.
change. A lot of things that all of a sudden we got some interesting concepts brought up, some shocking moments, some surprises, the whole reveal that, I mean, just that Teddy's back and then that, Dolores can control this world. And how is that
Right.
happening to
And he's
like,
back, but he's not back.
yeah, yeah,
But he is back because now she's in the Sublime and she can go find him.
yeah. So,
Ugh,
like, they did a lot to course correct their horrible mistakes in 3, and it ultimately was really enjoyable to watch, I thought. And
yeah.
these last 2 episodes probably would have been a little more manageable had we kept watching right through, you know? We didn't have the
Right.
moments of kind of catch up where we at here. But, yeah. Do you have overall thoughts or other things that happened that really, kinda stood out or didn't make sense or
Um, yeah, I was I feel like this season really brought like you said, brought the show back in a satisfying way, and there were several character story arcs that I was like happy to see wrapped up. Like Halores, who's on the screen right now. I felt like her death was like, this is good, this is satisfying. I've taken you as far as I want you to go, and I'm good with you. Just like you had your fun, you had your like, I'm gonna wreak destruction. Whoops. Now I'm bored. What am I gonna do? Try to like force everybody to ascend to a new level of consciousness, but like nobody likes that, so bye. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
She was like her whole story arc was interesting and awesome, and Tessa Thompson did a great job, killed it in the acting department, but she was such a contradiction. Like Hale was always talking about like ascending, next level, leave our bodies behind. Why are we so attached to them? Yet she could never actually let go of her own body. Even in the final battle with William, she was like, leave my scars. I want to remember. Leave my face. I want him to know it was me.
yeah,
So she was just such a contradiction. Like she never could have like achieved what she wanted to do. So her ending here and like taking out the man in black, kind of in host form and inadvertently in human indirectly, I guess, in human form, that all felt like it worked out. And I was ready to see where we could go next.
sure.
So
The question I have to like that was sitting with me yet after this was the whole purpose of a body and stuff because like you're just talking about how her goal is to get people to
yeah,
transcend, get the host to transcend, and some people would do it, but she was hesitant herself and all this stuff. Um, you know, I was thinking about it quite a bit after the show, and my thought was there's no point if without a physical space. I've always thought about this where like you can, okay, we'll upload our minds, we'll digitize them to the computer, they'll live in the net, we'll live on forever because your consciousness is
plugged in.
preserved. Yeah. And then you don't need a body. And your body is the slave for your soul anyways. So like what's the point? But the more I think about it now, like we have no meaning. We have no meaning to exist without the tie to the physical space. Like we only have any meaning because our physical forms will end. And so
Uh-huh.
everything only gains importance because it can end. If you can live on forever, if everything you want can persist forever, nothing has any meaning at all. And so there
Well, that
literally is
isn't
no point.
isn't that the point of vampire movies? To like
Yeah, but
say when
they
you're
even
immortal?
they can die, but right,
They
even they can
can.
die, and
Like
they still
you could
interact with the real world. The things
you
in
could
life
still
die
die.
in front of them.
You could still die if you uploaded your consciousness to the net. Like some sort of power system could fail.
Sure. Yes. Yes. It's one of those things where you could live in perpetuity should nothing, like go wrong. Like
Same
with
same as with
life,
vampires or elves in Tolkien's world, if in perpetuity happens if nothing goes horrendously wrong.
to me, that's always like the point of that is to appreciate what you have in front of you because it will
Yeah,
go away, you know, versus like having any meaning at all in this kind of thing. But yes, I get what you're saying is a similar kind of
because
idea.
often like vampire movies, I feel like have that sort of like existential, like I'm searching for meaning because
Hmm.
things have lost meaning, and it's usually like a human who like brings it back because it's like,
Yep.
oh, your fleeting life is so interesting to me.
Hmm.
But yeah,
But
so it's
how
like
much
very
more is that
it's
if like nothing around you is real?
but like that was the interesting part about this was like Halorus built these like sorry. Ugh. Halorus built these like random formless weird bodies to put their orbs into still. I mean, they were not
Yeah.
distinct or unique from one another. They were just like these white armless shells with black legs, which what the crap? That design was just like, I'm so lost here as to how
Was
this could be like ascension. But there was still like a physical space for their pearl, their orb, their core, whatever, to exist. And they still look like things that were maybe gonna be walking around. So like they would still have physical form, just not unique. So that was a plot point that I was like, I'm not quite I'm not quite here for if you don't need a body, what is this then? You know what I mean? Like it just
yeah,
didn't quite make sense to
yeah.
me.
I thought it was I guess I saw it as some part of the transition or whatever because we didn't see those guys like walking around then, you
We
know.
didn't know,
Like,
but because that was because we her transition or her ascension was interrupted.
hmm. But other people have ascended. We see other people do it and they kind of like just then like their body just goes out, the pearl gets taken out, you know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't remember enough earlier in the season because I thought they were all going to, this other space. Just like where we have, the real Teddy and all that, whatever space that is, we have this other space.
Sublime.
Yeah. So we have this
Well, they
other
couldn't
one now for these hosts.
right. Right, because well, they couldn't get into the Sublime, remember,
Right.
because Halorus kept it safe but couldn't access it. Only
Yes.
Bernard, Maeve, and Dolores could.
Right. Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's a good
that just wasn't
question.
quite like wrapped up, I think, in a really satisfying. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because again, philosophically, it's interesting to think about like what impact does your body have? Like obviously we're attached to our bodies because they give us some sort of definition of self, both in this is what I look like, this is how I understand who I am, this is how I interact with a physical world and make meaning and understanding with a physical world. This physical shell houses my mind, my soul, if that's part of your philosophy, my being, my essence, whatever you want to call that sort of like spark. Um, so that's always going to be an intrinsic part, I think, of our definition of like who you are.
Hmm.
So yeah. I mean this season did question like the need for a body, but ultimately nobody could kind of evolve beyond having some attachment to their body, to their look, to their
Hmm.
physical self.
Yep.
Um and I think the show very smartly kept repeating, like these hosts are only reflections of their creators. So they're no matter what they do, they still have some sort of like human traits because they were created by humans that they can't quite let go of, no
Yeah.
matter how desperately they try.
Yeah. It, the other reason I wonder if maybe, you know, season 5 was canceled and stuff is because the way I see where it's going is basically the Matrix. Um, we have a whole it's because the only thing if you're gonna have meaning in digital space or whatever, I feel like they would play with the idea that you have people like we could be in a space that is not real. Like we could be hosts and we wouldn't know it because we're in the program, we're in the thing, we're just like the Matrix, we're in the machine or whatever. And so
Right.
the test is how are you going to manage it in their case calling a game or in this simulation or whatever. Are you going to break free and find out what the real world is? Because as soon as you do that, you're you're back to square one. You're only
Right.
satisfied with the lie when you don't know it's a lie. As soon as you do, you need more. And so I feel like that's what they would play with more in the next season. And it's not that that hasn't been done. It's we kind of get that in the sense from the, in the first season, we're kind of playing with the idea. And then of course with the Matrix and then stuff like Elon Musk has put forward or whatever, like we're living in a simulation, that sort of thing. So not that I'd be opposed to seeing more of that. I'm interested in that kind of thing, but
Right.
you know, yeah. Um,
Ugh,
let's see.
the
Any-
perils of not knowing.
Yeah, I know. I hope they have released something sometime. Some
Right.
cast or I mean, not that they're reliable necessarily, but the showrunners or whoever does some interviews, or maybe there's a book written that's kind of
Sure.
like the the blueprint that was for season
Right.
5.
Right. Somebody somewhere along the line of like
Yeah,
what ideas we had. Yeah,
it'd be
it'd be
cool to
nice.
know. Yeah, because we get this show gave us a lot of entertainment. For all the hiccups and stuff. It also gave us a lot of entertainment, and yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, well, anything else you need to be said about Westworld?
No, just another show I do feel gone just a bit too soon.
Okay.
Like Raised by
Yeah.
Wolves. I mean, it's not as bitter. It's not as out of nowhere. Well, actually it is because this was more successful than Raised by Wolves. So I did feel like a little like, whoa, like this was just such a
Sure.
flagship show there for a bit, and I know it kind of flagged a little, it sunk a little bit, but I just didn't
Yeah.
quite think it was enough to get the axe.
Yep. Andrea, you see, you're actually in a host body. It's just not lasting very long. They just don't take. I'm sorry to break the news to you, unfortunately. Yeah, you're starting to
Got the
shake.
trembles. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's give Andrea a break here. She's been a trooper, like getting through the show here with a cough. So that'll do it from us for Popcast on the Rocks, episode 130. Make sure you follow us on all the applicable places: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all that sort of thing. Leave reviews where you can, especially if you're on a podcast directory. Our regular episodes go out on podcast directories like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Reviews are much appreciated. Any clips or whatever, thumbs them up, all that sort of thing, be much appreciated. We are growing, but we're growing slowly, so we could use your help to grow faster. Killing the Flower, they wrote our theme song, so you should check them out on YouTube, and music streaming services are also on Instagram. So go ahead and do that. Otherwise, that'll be it from us for this Christmas episode. I guess we're gonna have to call
Eh,
it Christmas episode. Everybody have a good holiday, good Christmas over this weekend. Stay safe if you're in the polar vortex. And
as we are.
and Andrea, yeah, Andrea, thanks again for joining me.
Of
Feel better.
course. Thanks. Cheers, everybody.